If an aspiring entrepreneur came to me asking for advice,
Yes.
the first thing I would probably want to understand is the team. You know, is there a co-founder? How does a co-founder complement, or how do the co-founders complement each other? If, for example, one has a technical background, does the other co-founder have more of a business background, or vice versa? So making sure that the team is whole or relatively complete. That would be the first thing. The second thing, I would want to really want to have a view, a sense that they were really passionate about their idea and believed in it. I'd want to see that passion oozing out from them, because I would say, look, if you're not passionate about your idea, no one else is going to be. My view is that if you're always waiting for perfection, whether it's the perfect team or the perfect product, you're going to be taking a lot longer to get things done. Possibly you'll never get there at all. So it is okay to recognize you might have some gaps in the team. It's also okay to recognize your first product will have gaps. It almost certainly will have gaps. It's actually team gaps, providing you recognize, yes, we have a gap here. For example, you know, the gap might be they don't have strong user experience. And initially they might be able to finesse that by begging, borrowing and stealing some UX help, or perhaps they're lacking in some other areas. But identifying those gaps and then putting in place a plan to, over time, to plug those gaps, I think that's equally true of the team as it is of the product. So I think the bigger risk is that fear of starting, fear of beginning, waiting to have all the ducks lined up. Oh, I can't start because I don't have my team, or I can't start because the idea is, I haven't quite validated it to the nth degree, or I don't have enough money. There's a lot of excuses you can come up with that will stop you from taking that first step. My advice is take that first step and then recognize where there are gaps and come up with a plan to plug those gaps, but start taking those steps. That's much better than trying to line everything up, because the fear is, or the reality is, if you try to get everything lined up and build the perfect team and build the perfect product, you'll just never do it.
Within a team, you need to be able to move fast, and you want different ideas. As I said in my previous startup, we all had the same background and very similar ideas, which is great because it means you can move really fast in one direction, but it might mean that you're not looking out to go in different directions, which a diverse team can help you with. The downside to having a really diverse team is that sometimes you'll just wander off in different directions and everyone wants a say on how they do things, which can actually work against you. So everyone has to be on the same page as far as taking risks and a certain amount of diversity. But they also have to have, I think, a commercial kind of aspect to that innovation. To me, the team is everything. It's the number one priority over anything else, past the idea, past anything else pretty much, getting the right team in place. And we're really lucky to get a great team. Our founders are all really passionate and committed 100%. And I would find it very difficult if I was in a team as a founder where another founder you're kind of looking at sideways, wondering if they're pulling their share. And so having that trust between founders is critical. I think the team needs to have different responsibilities, and everyone for a startup, having huge committees around things just doesn't work. We fall into that sometimes where everyone wants to have a say on something, which I think can be, a lot of times you're just going sideways. So you really want just someone to take responsibility and use your judgment and make the best decision.
Team is very important. I mentioned earlier how Google spends a lot of time trying to find the right people, but also making sure we've got the right environment so the team can flourish and achieve their maximum potential. It's very true for any organization, large or small. Large organization has perhaps, because it is inherently bigger, it has, I guess, greater bench strength, and it can kind of draw on expertise around the organization. A startup, on the other hand, by virtue of its smaller size, has to be super careful about making sure it's hiring the right people. Every single person you hire in the early days of the business are going to be super critical to your success. So it's hard to say, hiring needs to be more critical, more important for a startup, but I actually think it's true. As much as I say, Google hires well and we try to hire the best and the brightest, and we do, I think that's equally true of a startup. It's arguably more true of a startup. The team is ultimately what will enable the business to weather the storms, and kind of the tough periods that any small business or startup is going to necessarily will be confronted with. So getting that right team in place. It's a team that has to be complementary, making sure you've got the right skills. Not just complementary from a raw skill standpoint though, but diversity of ideas and views and opinions is really important too. If everyone's thinking the same way about something, chances are you're going to miss out on opportunities. And you'll be blindsided by things. So, yeah, I often give advice to first-time entrepreneurs to make sure they find the right co-founder or co-founders. That can be. I have a view that having co-founders is a strategic advantage. A lone founder, while not impossible, is definitely taking on a lot more than a company that has a couple of co-founders or even 3 co-founders. Having co-founders means not only do you have that diversity, hopefully diversity of ideas and diversity of skills, but you can be a sounding board to each other when times are tough and all that, and you can kind of weather some of those rough patches. And I've seen that be really quite beneficial to startups too. So team, super critical.